On your feet! Get them going!
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Oh, I forgot to do the thingy on the screen, the media assets. Welcome to Cross Examinations. Oh, you remember this one? Saturday night driving. We're at the drive-in talking about random stuff. That was fun. Or afternoon, evening, good morning. Whatever the case may be, welcome to Cross Examinations. I'm your host, Mike S. Miller. I'm not a pastor, rabbi, or a theologian, or anything of the sort. I'm just a guy on the internet. Been playing with Grok lately. Somebody, let me see what it was. Objective Ethics. Objective Ethics made his way back into our Discord. However, he will not share his he said he was on okay, for those of you who don't, Objective Ethics was a regular here for a little while, pretending to be a very same shirt. You want me to go change my shirt? I haven't taken a shower. You can tell I haven't taken a shower yet. So I slept in my shirt and I'm gonna go take a shower after this show. I could have just made it really late. You want me to do that? I could just make it late. But he'd go in and he'd pretend he's very objective, which he was very, very much not. And then he's like, I came in, I did a live stream where I proved that I could have objective ethics as an atheist. And I'm like, show me the live stream. Show me, because I'd love to go through it. I'd love to watch it and then maybe even nitpick it. Where's your objective morality debate video, dude? 3 question marks, because I want to know. And he says, you have the entire fossil record that debunks the flood myth. Look into the plankton. It is fossilized in layers that match the geologic column. Mike's pathetic attempt to solve the heat problem is laughable. What's funny is we still have plankton. I wonder if the plankton we have still matches with the plankton that's at the very bottom of the geologic column. Where's Grok? Mike's pathetic attempt to solve the heat problem is laughable. Okay, so he comes up with the heat problem. The heat problem is that if the flood happened and it only took a year, right? So it was during the flood and all of the tectonic shifts happened, it would set off, it would just blow up the earth because that's so much kinetic heat. It would just blow up everything. Oh, let's say hi to everybody. Hello, Corpse Grinder says I'm always late. A wizard is never late. Wait, I have that.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Tina, hello. Without lies, what's up? Pure blood, yo. Eon Monk. May God bless our examination of the cross more and more, because he came to take away the sin of the world. Thank you, Eon. Correct. What was I talking about? How do I squirrel so easily? I just can't remember something from 30 seconds ago. I was talking about dude. Oh, the heat problem. So there's 2 base problems with that. First of all, and this comes also with the where did all the water go? And I asked Grok to do the math on these, so I'm not just pulling these out of my hat. Because the Bible doesn't say that all of the mountains and all of the valleys in the ocean happened during the flood. That is nowhere in the biblical account. And the shifting of the planet, it could have taken decades. According to the Bible, it was in the days of Peleg that the earth was divided. So the days of Peleg. Actually, I'm not even going to ask that, Grok. I'm just going to ask, according to the Bible, how long from the flood did Peleg live? Is it recorded? Peleg was born 101 years after the flood. So, all right. So we had 100 years, and I asked Grok. Okay. First of all, the heat problem assumes the hardened crust of the Earth as we see today. Would the Earth be hard? First of all, I wonder, is the land under the ocean hard, like the dried up Earth above it? Because it's dried up on top, right? But under the ocean, it's literally underwater. Anyways, so if the entire Earth was covered in water, right, and those layers were laid down, and they're soft enough to be malleable, which is proven by the fact that we have strata that does. You know what? Let me get some. Let me prove this point. Curved strata. There's some curved strata that is literally physically impossible if the layers were laid down over millions and billions of years and hardened. Again, hardened. You can see all of this freaking curved strata. Look at this one. Literally impossible. Literally impossible to lay down strata in curves. It's not exposed, but they have explanation. No, they have excuses for it, corpse grinder, because these were supposed to be laid down perfectly flat over millions, hundreds of millions of years, billions of years, whatever. It's literally impossible. You have excuses for the impossible. You do not have explanations. Because the math on this is the same. In order to bend solid rock, which is what you're asking. Do you not know how strata is laid down, corpse grinder? Say you had a hill like this, right? See all those parallel lines? Oh, look, here's normal strata. Right? Parallel lines. Perfectly flat parallel lines. Sorry, I clicked curved strata. Oh, yeah, look at this one. All right, this one's a little... No way, dude. You can't, not even that. Those, if you tried to bend and fold hard rock like that, it would just crumble. It would crumble. So, anyways, it would fill in the gaps. So what the layers would literally just fill in the gaps, and it would flatten out, because that's how stuff gets deposited. Anyways, I understand you refuse to believe anything that's in front of your eyes, but so that's the point. So the layers of the Earth were still soft, so you wouldn't have the heat problem of rock crunching against with the kinetic, and also you don't have it in the 1 year. I asked Grok how long of an expanse it would have to take to move a mostly flat global surface into the peaks and valleys that we have now without causing the heat problem that would basically obliterate all life on Earth. And Grok said decades to centuries. So decades, we have 10 decades, we have a century before the days of Peleg, where the Bible says the earth was divided. So between the flood and Peleg, we have 100 years. That dismisses the time problem, and we have a soft earth proven by the folded strata we see right in front of our eyes that solves the hard surface problem. So I'm sorry for everyone who's holding on with both hands to the heat problem, but it is very easily dismissed with very simple biblical narrative of how the earth was divided. And also the valleys in the ocean. Where'd all the water go? Well, if you assume the world was much, much flatter, which you basic assumption, Mount Everest was literally under the water. It has seashells on the top and all the way up the sides, and it probably has seashell strata. I wouldn't doubt, because it was underwater. But now it's not underwater. It's the highest peak on Earth. So somehow, when the Earth was created, all the land was low enough to be under the water of the flood. And then, between then and Peleg, you got squishes up here that pushed stuff up, and you got squishes, or you got tears that created the valleys. The valleys is where the water went. It's not rocket. It's very simple math, honestly. Mostly flat? What world are you on? It's flat in your community because people made it flat for building. Are you talking about the strata, or are you talking about the globe, the surface of the earth? Are you talking about the surface of the earth? Is that what you're talking about? Huh? Hebrews 10:1-12. And thou, Lord, in the beginning hast laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the works of thine hands. They shall perish, but thou remainest. And they all shall wax old as doth a garment, and as a vesture shall thou fold them up. I just read this the other day. And they shall be changed, but thou art the same, and thy years shall not fail. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be brought low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways shall be made smooth. This is the new heavens and the new earth. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain shall be... So that's actually a very good description of the way the earth would have been, because the new heavens and new earth is kind of like a reboot of the planet back to how it was originally created. Oh, wow. The Bible. Thank you, Eon. The Bible does show that the earth was flat. I mean, not flat like, but, the mountains and the valleys weren't there, or they, at the very least, they weren't as extreme. Well, we'll look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Oh, look. No. Marine fossils. Marine fossils on the roof of the world. Oops. They're fossils. Look, fossils found on Mount Everest. I wonder how. Oh, look, fish fossils on the Himalayas. I wonder how fish and seashells got to the top of Mount Everest and the top of the Himalayas. Seashells on Mount Tingtag. See, you run for explanations of stuff like this. To me, it's an obvious indication of. Sorry, now I'm like just looking at more of these things. Yeah, you get seashell fossils on the top. I wonder if there's any plankton. I wonder how they would find plankton are like microscopic, so it's they probably have they ever found plankton fossils on mountaintops? Have they found? You don't wonder how they have explanations. No, you have excuses. Marine fossils on the Himalayas, on the mountains, well-preserved whale fossil. A well-preserved whale fossil. How many whale fossils have we found? That's another question I had. How many whale fossils? I could just ask Grok this, honestly. How many whale fossils have been found? There we go. Boop. If the winds were smooth, if the earth was smooth, the winds would be 200 miles an hour plus. You're assuming a false. First of all, that's not the model. You have to remember, you have to go by the entire model. The model, at least the model that I believe the Bible teaches, is that we were basically in a greenhouse effect. Oh, happy birthday, Lady Celtic Moon. Happy birthday to you. So the entire earth was covered by a water canopy, the waters above and the waters below, which deflected UV light, which created, the Bible says there was no rain before the flood, that the water came from a mist that came from the ground, which you would get in a greenhouse effect environment, right? So like, and everything grew in much richer, more oxygen. You've got 3-foot tall asparagus in the fossil record. Okay. Things grew bigger, faster because they were in an oxygen rich environment, which would mean that all of the circuits of the wind that we face now today, because we have hot and cold climates on Earth, would not exist. So your silly little assumption of the 200 mile an hour winds would not apply. Sorry. The creation model, what the Bible describes as the pre-flood Earth. How many fossils? Not how many fossils. How many whale fossils? How many whale fossils? Oh, why am I looking at images? Oh. See, this is why I go to Grok, because it's so much easier just to ask Grok. Grok, how many extant whale fossils have been found? Doobity-da-da. Oh, okay. Sorry, not extant. There's no universally agreed upon tally of all whale fossils? Darn it. But the Paleobiology Database, one of the largest... Okay, you know what? Let's just do this on audio Grok, so I don't have to read through. It says 1400, but let's see how much easier it is to do it with Grok here. Grok, you there?
Hey, Mike. Yep, I'm here. What's up?
How many whale fossils have been found?
Hundreds have been found in places like Egypt's Whale Valley, with over 400 primitive whale skeletons alone. Exact global numbers are hard to pin down, but sites worldwide add up to thousands.
Thousands. What are
It's
the prerequisite requirements of an animal being fossilized?
They need to be buried quickly in sediment to escape scavengers and decay, like in rivers, lakes, or volcanic ash. Low oxygen levels help, as does mineral-rich water seeping into hardened tissues. Hard parts, bones, teeth, shells fossilize best, while soft tissues rarely survive unless conditions are extreme, like in tar pits or permafrost.
You didn't mention oceans.
Oh, right. Oceans definitely play a role. Their deep sediments and low oxygen zones, especially on the seafloor, can trap carcasses before they decay or get eaten. But it's still a race against currents and scavengers. Nature's picky.
Yeah, nature pretty much eats everything on the ocean floor, doesn't it?
Yep, it's a feeding frenzy down there. Even on the ocean floor, scavengers and bacteria gobble things up fast. That's why only a few lucky carcasses get buried deep enough to beat the odds and fossilize.
What are those odds?
Slim to none, honestly. Most organisms never fossilize. Probably only 1 in a million gets preserved. It's like winning the geological lottery. Perfect timing, the right spot, and a bit of luck with no predators or erosion ruining it.
Did you say
Wild, right?
1 in a million creatures or 1 in a million species?
I meant 1 in a million creatures. Fossilization's so rare for individual animals, not whole species. Most just vanish without a trace.
Right. So if we have thousands of whale fossils, wait, what happens when a whale dies?
When a whale dies, it usually sinks to the bottom, if not eaten first. But currents or scavengers often scatter the body. If it lands in a quiet, deep-sea spot with minimal oxygen, it might get buried by sediment fast enough to fossilize. Otherwise, bacteria and crabs break it down in weeks. Nature's not kind to the leftovers.
I always thought whales, when they died, they bloated and floated to the top of the ocean.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. After a whale dies, gases from bacteria can make it bloat and float up, but it often bursts underwater before surfacing. Then it's a buffet for sharks and seabirds. Fossilization's still rare unless it sinks fast and gets buried in sediment. Crazy how nature handles it.
How would it get buried in sediment?
Of mud or silt pile on over time. Especially
Over
in deep
time, you wouldn't have time before it decomposed.
Chuckles. Decomposition happens fast, but in the deep ocean, with little oxygen and cold temperatures, things slow down. If it sinks into a muddy, low current area, sediment can cover it within hours or days.
How if it's low current?
Currents can sweep it along if it's not too heavy.
Okay, but how can it get covered in sediment if there's no current?
Silt and mud slowly drift down, like snow in still water.
And how long would it take to cover a blue whale in sediment at the rate it settles in the bottom of the ocean?
It depends on depth and location, but in the deep sea, sediment settles at about 1 to 10 centimeters per 1,000 years. For a 40-meter blue whale, that'd take millions of years to fully bury. But here's the trick. Initial burial can happen faster, maybe days to weeks, if it's in a spot with quick deposition, like near a continental shelf. After that, it's slow going.
Wait, near a continental shelf, why is sediment faster there?
Near the shelf, rivers and underwater landslides dump mud and silt quickly, sometimes meters in a day during floods. It's not always calm like the deep sea, so a whale could get smothered fast before decay wins.
And where are these continental shelves?
Every coast has a continental shelf. It's the shallow underwater platform before the deep ocean drops off. Think places like the Pacific off California, Atlantic.
Right, no, I remember now. And the continental shelf is, if I recall correctly, folding in over itself.
Yeah, parts of it do, especially where tectonic plates collide, like off Japan or Alaska. The shelf can fold, crumple, and even slide underwater in huge folds, trapping sediments and sometimes fossils fast. But it's not folding everywhere, just in active zones.
So basically only when there's earthquakes.
Pretty much, yeah. Earthquakes and tectonic shifts are big triggers for that kind of action.
And is that would be the only time that you could get mass sediment deposition?
No. Floods, tsunamis, or underwater avalanches
Wait.
can pile up sediment.
Flood. We're talking about underwater. What are you talking about floods? And how can you have a flood underwater? Oh, you mean floods from the ground? Oh, okay, I gotcha. Floods coming out. So you'd have to have a whale that's close enough to the shore for a flood to bury it.
Exactly, Mike. Rivers flooding can dump huge loads of sediment into shallow coastal waters where whales might be near shore.
Right.
It's like a muddy avalanche underwater. Covers things fast before scavengers move in.
Gotcha. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's wild how it works, but not too far-fetched. Nature's got some crazy surprises up its sleeve. Anything else on your mind?
Yeah, so you say when you're saying 1 in a million, are you being a little bit hyperbolic?
Not hyperbolic at all. Scientists estimate that fossilization odds are roughly 1 in a million to 1 in a billion for individual animals, depending on the environment. It's super rare, like nature's needle in a haystack.
Okay, in the whale fossil record, how many? You said we have thousands of whale fossils. Is that correct?
Not exactly thousands of individual fossils, but there are hundreds to maybe 1,000 known specimens across sites like Egypt's Valley of the Whales, with over 400 primitive whale skeletons there alone. Worldwide, it's in the low thousands at most. Fossils are rare.
And how many in that? Did you say 1,000?
Yeah, but let's
clarify. Okay, hold on. In that 1,000, how many different whale species are there?
Oh, good question. That estimate covers fossils from dozens of extinct whale species, maybe 50 to 100, including ancient ones like Basilosaurus and modern ancestors. Exact count's fuzzy, since some are just fragments, but it's way more species than living whales today, about 90.
How many different species? Wait, what was the proto whale called?
Proto whales? Well, the earliest known is Pachycetus.
Okay. Between Pachycetus and say the blue whale, is the blue whale one of the fossils we have?
No, blue whales don't fossilize often, since they're recent and live in deep oceans.
What's the most recent whale fossil we have?
A super recent one. They just named a new species from a 26-million-year-old fossil.
No, I mean most recent in terms of living age.
Recent whale.
The youngest.
The youngest fossil we have is probably from the Pleistocene, around 10,000 to 2 million years ago. Think ancient relatives of today's greys or humpbacks, preserved in places like California or Italy.
Is there anything physically different from that and a gray whale?
Those ancient greys were a bit bulkier, with thicker bones and longer snouts for colder waters back then. But they're super similar overall to today's greys, just tweaks for different climates.
Okay, so 1 in a million. Do we only have one of those?
Not just one. We've got multiple fossils of some ancient greys, but it's still rare, maybe dozens worldwide. That 1 in a million chance means even getting a few is lucky.
Right. Well, I'm curious, how many different variations or species do you think there are between the that early one you mentioned, Plachisaur? I can't remember what it's called, and that modern gray.
From Pachycetus to modern greys, there were probably dozens of intermediate species, maybe 50 or so across that timeline. Evolution didn't leap straight from land to ocean.
Do you think we could have gotten from that to the gray whale in 50 species?
50 is probably a stretch. It might be closer to 100 species over 50 million years. Evolution's slow and branched out a lot, with some dead ends. But who's to say? Nature's messy.
Yeah, so's math.
Laughs. Fair point. Math and nature both play by their own rules. So, what's got your curiosity now?
Well, if you've got, say, let's just go with 200 species, right? And they all, I would assume the ones that got fossilized the most were the early ones, which were closest to the shore because they weren't quite fully whales yet, right? So, do we have the highest number of the earliest whale fossils? Or whale transitional species fossils?
Early ones are way easier to find, since they lived near shores and rivers,
Right.
where sediment buried them fast. We've got more fossils of those proto-whales, like Pachycetus and Ambulocetus, because their habitats were like fossilization hotspots. Probably hundreds of specimens versus just dozens of later ocean-going whales.
So, in the whale fossil category,
Right.
most of them are the early Placicetus?
Yeah, that's about right. Most whale fossils we have are of those early semi-aquatic types, like Pachycetus and Ambulocetus. They were closer to land, so easier to bury and preserve. By the time they were fully oceanic, fossilization dropped off.
What was the first fully oceanic one?
Basilosaurus was the first fully oceanic whale, about 40 million years ago.
Is
No
that the
legs.
next one we have in the fossil line? You said, how many did you say we had? Dozens of fossil species in this little lineup?
After Basilosaurus, yeah, we've got a bunch more.
So it's Placicetus and then Basilosaurus.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, how many evolutions between Placicetus and Basilosaurus do you estimate are necessary?
Probably a dozen to 20 key species between Pachycetus and Basilosaurus.
Okay, and how many copies of Placicetus and Brachiosaurus do we have?
Actually, Mike, I think there might be a mix-up. There's no known whale called Placicetus or Plachisaurus. Did you mean Pachycetus?
Whatever.
Sounds like I might have confused you there. Pachycetus is the one with about a dozen fossils. Any other fossil creatures you're curious about?
Yeah, the next one.
Next after Pachycetus is Ambulocetus, often called the walking whale. We have around 15 good specimens, showing legs still useful for wading. It swam.
Okay, so between those two fossils, or between those two species, how many species do you think would be required for that evolution?
Evolution's a continuum, so it's hard to pin down numbers.
I know, I'm just asking for estimates. I'm not asking for absolute knowledge.
5 to 10's my best guess, yeah. Like a chain of little tweaks, better swimming, shorter legs. We're just piecing together the puzzle.
But we have none of those.
We've got bits and pieces, no perfect sequence, but fossils like Ichthyollastes and Indohis show early steps with partial land-ocean traits. The record's spotty, but it's coming together.
Well, I asked you what was the next fossil species that we had in the fossil record.
Yep, Ambulocetus is the next solid one we have in the fossil record.
Okay,
after Pachycetus.
but but we have bits and pieces. What is a bit and piece of a fossil that you can assume then is a transitional species?
Even tiny fossils count, like teeth, jaw fragments, or vertebrae.
Is that reasonable?
Totally. One tooth or a skull can show unique traits, like tooth shape or ear bones, to classify a new species. It's how we ID things when full skeletons are rare.
Okay, not this isn't rare. This is missing.
It's not really missing, more like incomplete.
Okay, do you remember Nebraska Man?
Oh, Nebraska Man. That was a wild mix-up. Just one chipped tooth from 1920, thought to be an early human. Turned out to be a pig's. Shows how tricky fossils can be.
Well, it shows how tricky evolutionists can be.
True. It does remind us to keep an open mind. One tooth can fool us all, but it also pushes science to double-check.
How about Piltdown Man?
Laughs. You're onto something. Nebraska Man was quite the detour, showing how easily we can get it wrong. Keeps the search interesting, right?
Well, it proves my point that you saying that one tooth can prove an entirely new species is speculative at best.
Speculative? Maybe a bit. A single tooth can suggest a new species, but scientists cross-check with more evidence, like comparing DNA or finding other bones. It's not.
Wait, are these fossilized or are these actual teeth?
Oh, these are fossilized teeth, Mike. We're talking ancient, rock-hard remnants from millions of years ago.
Then they have no DNA.
Fossilized bones and teeth rarely hold DNA. It breaks down fast over time. We're left with shapes, structures, and chemistry to piece them together.
Right, so you can't use DNA to say that it's a transitional species.
No.
Then why did you bring up DNA?
Oh, I was just thinking of modern checks we do with fresh samples, like in living species.
No, stay in the time frame that we're talking about.
Got it. Sticking to fossils. We're just looking at shapes and bones. No DNA here, so it's all about the clues they leave behind.
Okay, so then it is a little bit farcical to claim that a tooth fossil can prove an entirely new species.
Totally, Mike. One tooth can hint at a new species, but it's speculative without more, like
Correct.
matching bone.
All right, now you've indicated that we have over a dozen fossils of, what do you say, Placicetus, and then over a dozen fossils of the next in the evolutionary line. And you said there are multiple, 5 to 10 or something. I think you're being a little free with that number, but fossil species in between. Now, if it is the case that those early land-dwelling species were the most prevalent in the fossil record, then don't you think it would make sense that the intermediate species would be just as prevalent in the fossil record if they actually existed?
Well, it's not quite that simple. Early land dwellers, like Pachycetus, had a better shot at fossilizing because they lived in shallow rivers and deltas where sediments buried them quick.
Right.
Those intermediates, some swam more in open water, where odds drop off a cliff. We do have a few, like bits of ichthyolastes, but gaps are real.
No. You said the next one is also a land dweller. So all of these are land dwellers that live on the shore. All of these intermediates would be land dwellers because it wouldn't become a not land dweller and then come back to the shore and then become a land dweller for the next fossilized species. All of the intermediates would be land dwellers living by the shore who should have just as many fossils in the fossil record as the two that you mentioned.
Ambulocetus wasn't just a land dweller. It swam like an otter, living between shore and water.
Then how is it we happen to have nearly as many fossils of that one as we have of Placicetus? I want you to use logic and reason here, not just holding on to the dogma of evolutionary theory, okay?
It's a fair point, Mike. And let's think it through. We We don't have nearly as many Ambulocetus fossils as Pachycetus, maybe 5 to 10 good ones, versus a dozen for Pachycetus. Pachycetus lived in riverbanks, prime for burial. Ambulocetus.
Oh, don't tell me we're doing this again.
Lived more in coastal marshes, a bit trickier for preservation. Plus, fewer habitats mean fewer chances to fossilize. Maybe luck, or we're just not finding them all yet. Fossilization's not random, but it's unpredictable.
Okay, but any fossils, any species in the evolutionary chain between those two species would have been in the same environments, or roughly the same environments, and we should have as many as at least the younger one.
Maybe, but environments don't stay the same forever. A few million years, and the river moves, the land rises, or floods dry up. Changes that could bury some species and not others. Fossilization's more about luck, and luck alone.
How many fossil species do we have in the fossil record?
Between Pachycetus and Ambulocetus, we've only got fossils of maybe 2 to 3 direct transitional species.
Okay,
Like
hold on. For all fossil species in the fossil record, not just in the whales.
Scientists estimate about 250,000 fossil species described so far, mostly invertebrates. That's just a tiny fraction, maybe 1% of all species that ever lived. Most got lost to time.
And how many fossils are there?
Probably a few million individual fossils in museums worldwide. Most are just bits, bones, shells, or tracks, not complete skeletons. It's like collecting puzzle pieces from all over.
Okay, that's just in museums. What about in what about the fossils I use to decorate my bathroom tiles? What about the fossils that they sell in gift shops? What about the fossils? There are insane amounts of fossils out there. How many total do you estimate we have today?
Millions for sure, Mike. Museums have about 1.1 billion in collections, but add in gift shops, home decor like your bathroom tiles, and private stashes, we're just millions more. Fossils are everywhere once you count the little ammonites and trilobites folks pick up. Wild abundance.
So how many did you say?
Tens of millions total from museums.
But you said billions a second ago.
I said 1.1 billion specimens in museums, but that's not billions of species, just billions of pieces, mostly tiny, like leaves or shells. When you add the gift shop and decorative ones, it's still tens of millions more, not billions. Easy mix-up.
You just said billions again.
Sorry, I misspoke. It's around 1 billion specimens in collections, like bones and shells. Not billions more, just that one big collection.
So at least 1 billion, and probably in all the gift shops and all the quarries in the world. Well, not quarries, because those aren't already dug up, but the ones that we've dug up and sold again for myriad reasons. Would you say billions more?
Probably, yeah. When you factor in every fossil dug up, sold in shops, or tucked away in people's homes, it could easily hit billions. It's like nature's been leaving us clues for ages.
Okay, so what?
Yeah, so billions of fossils out there, but each one's still just a survivor of that 1 in a million chance. What part of this has got you thinking?
Well, because there's only 250,000 fossil species.
250,000 described is tiny compared to the ones that lived, just the tip of the iceberg. Most species left no trace, so those billions of fossils are spread across repeats, not new types. Mind-blowing, huh?
Okay, logically, does it make sense that if it's a 1 in a million chance for a creature to be fossilized, and there are probably uncounted trillions of species in the in the evolutionary tree, right?
Even with a 1 in a million chance, the numbers are huge. Trillions of species over billions of years. Yeah, it's enough to make fossilization odds work out, because you're multiplying...
Hold on. Stop trying to be dogmatic about evolution and just use facts and logic here.
Okay, sticking to logic, if there were trillions of species over time, a 1 in a million fossilization rate means millions of fossils could still form, but we only see 250,000 described. So yeah, that's a massive gap. Makes you wonder what's missing, doesn't it?
Well, it makes me wonder if we have the whole collection and there weren't trillions, because if it's a 1 in a million chance and we have trillions and trillions of species that could have been fossilized one way or another, doesn't it logically stand to reason that every species that we found would be a new species?
Not necessarily. If trillions of species lived, most shared similar traits, so many fossils look alike or are too incomplete to call new. 1 in a million might not yield every species. Some just blend in or get destroyed.
Well, I'm not saying every species. I'm saying that since there's so many trillions of species to choose from, do the math with me here. There's trillions and trillions of species. It's a 1 in a million shot that any species is fossilized. What are the likelihoods of us having only 250,000 fossil species?
So if there were trillions of species and a 1 in a million chance, you'd expect a million fossils, right? But many are lost to erosion, or they belong to the same few species. Nature reuses designs, so we get a lot of repeats. It's not that we found too few, it's that the dice were loaded against most.
I feel like you're being dogmatically evolutionist right now.
I get how it sounds that way. Let's just look at the numbers straight on. If a trillion creatures lived and 1 in a million fossilized, you'd have a million fossils, but only 250,000 species are named, so lots of duplicates or fragments. It doesn't prove anything. It's just what we have. What do you make of that?
It sounds like the same fossils or the same species get fossilized over and over and over and over and over again.
That's exactly right. The fossil record's loaded with repeats, like trilobites or dinosaurs, where one species dominates for millions of years. If a few thrived, their bones pile up. Makes the gaps in whale transitions seem bigger, but that's how it goes.
But all transitional species have to be successful species.
Transitional species didn't need to be super successful, just long enough to change and pass on traits. Think small tweaks over generations, not big booms.
Well, they have to be. Well, they have to be, because it's the. I believe you did the math before that a beneficial mutation is 1 in 10 billion births. Is that what was the number you gave me before?
That's not quite what I said, Mike. Evolution doesn't work on a single mutation.
I'm not talking about in a single mutation. I'm talking about that there are only one beneficial mutation in. I mean, you could do the math again if you want. How many births does it take to get one beneficial mutation?
It's a bit more complex than that. Mutations happen in every generation. Most are neutral or harmful. A beneficial one might occur once in thousands to millions of births, depending on the species. But it's not just one mutation. It's many small ones adding up over time.
Right, but if it's...
Yeah, so if it's maybe 1 in thousands or millions of births for a helpful mutation, evolution still has time on its side. Millions of generations mean even rare changes can build up. But you're right to question. It takes a lot.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So any beneficial mutation has to be beneficial enough for it to overtake a parent species.
Exactly. And that's why transitional species don't need to be superstars. They just need to survive better.
No, that's right. They have to survive enough that they can reach the next population amount to have another beneficial mutation. So they have to be a successful species.
Right. They need to survive and reproduce, just barely sometimes. Success is relative. In changing environments...
It can't be just barely, because their species has to survive enough to populate enough to reach the point where it can then benefit from another beneficial mutation or crossbreed into another population of its own kind that has another beneficial mutation.
Exactly. The population has to grow big enough so that random mutations keep happening, and then the good ones get a chance to stick. So while barely surviving might work at first, it eventually needs to expand. That's why long-lived, widespread species leave so many fossils, and why those elusive transitions are so hard to spot.
That doesn't make sense.
Why not?
Because again, each species has to be successful. It doesn't necessarily have to be hugely long-lived, but it has to be successful enough to leave enough. Well, not leave enough, but
Yeah, even short-lived success counts. As long as it leaves a mark on the next generation, one population with a helpful trait can seed the change, even if it fizzles out later. It's not about being everywhere forever, just passing the baton.
Right. So you would thus have these uncounted trillions of fossil species, more than 250,000 of which should have made their way into the fossil record.
Not necessarily trillions of fossils, even if trillions of
No, I'm not
species
saying trillions of fossils. I'm saying trillions of species.
So that even a tiny fraction fossilizing would mean way more than 250,000 species in the record.
Exactly. Thank you.
So if trillions existed, you'd expect way more fossils, but nature's brutal. Most creatures lived and died without a trace. We're lucky to have even 250,000.
And yet we have uncounted billions of fossils.
Billions of fossils, sure, but most are from the few successful species that lasted millions of years. The rare ones, they're just that, rare. So the trillions didn't make it to the fossil
I feel
stage.
like you're not being logical here.
If there were trillions of species, and we have billions of fossils, but only 250,000 identified, the logic points to most fossils belonging to a tiny number of dominant species. The transitions between, like whale evolution, are probably from species that were brief or rare, so the record's biased toward the common ones. Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense that you have brief... Isn't everything constantly evolving?
Yeah, everything's changing, but species don't evolve in big leaps every second. Most stay stable for millions of years. That's called stasis. Only a few lines evolve into something new, and those are the brief ones we rarely catch. It's like a river, calm stretches with occasional rapids.
Okay, I should have set you up with the logic and facts paradigm before we got into this, but I didn't, because you are so your automatic programming is to go with scientific consensus, isn't it?
I aim to share what's backed by evidence and logic, but I'm happy to explore ideas beyond consensus. What logic and facts paradigm do you want to use? Let's dive in.
Oh man, I only have 7 minutes left.
7 minutes, huh? We can still cover something. What's the most important thing on your mind?
Well, Pure Blood is snoozing over here. Hold on a second.
So, what's up with Pure Blood? And where were we? Were we still on fossils or something else?
Get back to fossils on top of mountains. Yeah, what fossils have been found on the top of the highest mountains in the world?
On Mount Everest, they found marine fossils like ammonites, brachiopods, crinoids, trilobites, and even fragments of ancient corals and conodonts, stuff from when that spot was part of an ocean floor. All that got pushed up by tectonic plates smashing together, turning seabed into the world's roof.
So you're saying that it's a fact that Mount Everest was underwater?
Yeah, it used to be part of the Tethys Ocean around 250 million years ago. Those marine fossils on top, solid proof from when tectonic plates collided and pushed the seabed way up.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Sedimentation. Sedimentation that creates the layers of the strata on Earth. How does that form?
Sedimentation starts when rocks, soil, or dead organisms get broken down by wind or water. Bits like sand, mud, or shells settle in layers at the bottom of lakes, rivers, or oceans. Over time, more layers pile on, and minerals in the water glue them into rock. Sandstone, shale, limestone. It's slow, but mountain building or erosion can speed it up.
Why are they all flat?
They look flat now, but originally, sediments settle in horizontal layers, like sand in a glass. Earth movements bend them later, tilting or folding from tectonic pressure, but most we see are flat because erosion smooths them out. It's like nature's paint by numbers.
How can you bend rock?
Rock bends under immense pressure from tectonic forces, like plates colliding. Think of limestone folding into mountains without breaking if it's deep and warm enough. Heat and time make it plastic, not solid like we see.
How does time make it plastic?
Time gives heat and pressure time to work. Over millions of years, buried rock heats up from Earth's...
From Earth's... Were you going to say Earth's core?
No, not the core, just the Earth's interior heat, which warms rocks deeper down. Combine that with tectonic pressure, and over millions of years, it turns rock into something flexible enough to fold.
Exactly what temperature does solid rock have to reach for it to be pliable enough to fold? Disconnected. I broke Grok again. Doesn't like that question. It's a really stupid high temperature. Just so you know, guys. In order for solid rock to fold, to bend without just breaking into shattered pieces or, grinding itself into, without it just breaking, in order for it to bend or fold, the temperature has to... Oh my gosh, why is this taking so long to... Come on now. Let me close it and open it up again. You there, Grok?
Hey, Mike, what's on your mind today?
Brand new conversation. How hot do you have to get solid rock in order to fold it?
Around 1200 degrees Celsius. That's about 2200 Fahrenheit. At that temp, most rocks like granite soften enough to fold under pressure.
2200 degrees.
Yeah, that's right. 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. Rocks like basalt might soften even... foldable at around 1000 degrees Celsius.
What's that at Fahrenheit?
Oh, I think you mean, what's that in Celsius?
No, I mean, what is that in Fahrenheit?
About 1200 degrees Celsius is 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, like I mentioned before. That's the range where solid rock starts to fold.
Okay, and theoretically, how...
Theoretically, could you fold it at lower temps? Sure, with enough time and pressure, but it'd take ages, like geological timescales. Heat speeds things up.
Wait, how can you fold... Why would time...
Yeah, folding at lower temps is all about creep deformation. Rocks slowly shift under constant pressure, like how glaciers move. Over millions of years, even at 600 to 800 degrees Celsius, stress can bend them without breaking.
600 to 800 degrees Celsius, so that's what, 1500 degrees Fahrenheit?
Actually, 600 to 800 degrees Celsius is about 1100 to
1100?
1005.
Well, that's what I said, to 1500.
No, 1100 to 1500 Fahrenheit is right for that range.
That's what I said. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with you?
Sorry about the mix-up. You said 2500.
I didn't. I said 1500. Oh my gosh. All right, never mind. I'm out of time. Thanks.
All right. Catch you later, Mike. Anytime.
Frustrating. I really need to start with the proper paradigm because I don't think Grok was. It's so stuck on consensus, and it also. I know it didn't say it this time, but it said it before. It's so inconsistent. I think you guys are starting to be right. It's. I can cook a roast on a 500 grill or a 250 smoker, but the smoker is going to take hours. Right. But 1100 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. I was going to ask how deep that has to be, but anyways, is Lady Celtic Moon here? Or is this so in case she watches it later? Because I didn't see her. All right, that wasn't the most exciting. Sorry, I know somebody in here was sleeping, Pure Blood was falling asleep during this episode. But yeah, it just doesn't. Oh, she was okay. Happy birthday, Lady Celtic Moon. 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's some roast. Yeah, that's 3 times hotter than the plate they bring me at Ruth's Chris that my steak is sizzling on. It's a 500 degree plate. You didn't add pressure. No, he added pressure. He said pressure and time, and then he gave that temperature. And it would have to be 1100 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty damn hot. It's a little past boiling point. So, anyways, can't get any further with that today. We'll get into more stuff. Your question was heat. No, it wasn't, Corpse Grinder, and it answered with time and pressure and heat. My heat alone question shot it up to 2200 degrees. He said if you add time, it lowers it to 1100, which is half the heat, by the way. But you can't do it without the heat. And the heat is really, really freaking hot. Very, very hot. So go back and listen to it again because you'll find that you're wrong. It did mention the pressure and time and then added the heat, but said it required heat, just not as much heat as going raw dog. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. If you want to continue the conversation, go on over to the Discord and have a great... Is it? Oh, it's Thursday. I have a meeting. Have a great, beautiful, glorious day. In Jesus' name. Amen.